Hello everybody, this is Gregory with 5-Minute Catholic Apologetics, where 5 minutes of your time may get you to the divine. Today we're going to analyze the parable of the talents. Now before we begin, let's start with a prayer. In nomine Patris et Filii et Spiritui Sancti. Amen. Gloria Patri et Filii et Spiritui Sancto, sicut erat in principio et nunc et semper in saecula saeculorum. Amen. All right, parable of the talents is only found in Matthew chapter 25. Let's just get to it for the sake of time. Verse 14, Matthew 25, "For it will be as when a man going on a journey called his servants and entrusted to them his property. To one he gave 5 talents, to another 2, to another 1, to each according to his ability. Then he went away. He who had received the 5 talents went at once and traded with them, and he made 5 talents more. So also he who had 2 talents made 2 talents more. But he who had received the 1 talent went and dug it in the ground and hid his master's money. Now after a long time the master of those servants came and settled accounts with them. And he who had received the 5 talents came forward, bringing 5 talents more, saying, Master, you delivered to me 5 talents. Here, I've made 5 talents more. His master said to him, Well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful over a little. I will set you over much. Enter to the joy of your master. And he also had the 2 talents come forward, saying, Master, you delivered me 2 talents. Here, I've made 2 talents more. His master said, Well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful over a little. I will set you over much. Enter into the joy of your master. He also had received the 1 talent, came forward, saying, Master, I knew you to be a hard man, reaping where you did not sow, and gathering where you did not winnow. So I was afraid, and I went and hid your talent in the ground. Have you had what is yours? But his master answered him, You wicked and slothful servant. You knew what I reap, where I have not sowed, and gather where I have not winnowed. Then you ought to have invested my money with the bankers, and at my coming I should have received what was my own with interest. So take the talent from him and give it to him who has the 10 talents. For to everyone who has more will be given, and he who has abundance. But from him who has not, even what he has will be taken away. And cast the worthless servant into the outer darkness, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth." Okay, so on one level he's talking about money, but really he's not talking about money, because we know, like 1 Timothy, Paul says, love of money is the root of all evil. We see even Christ talking about the dangers of money. So it's not necessarily that the master is like, I didn't get more money. What he's talking about is true talent. So the parable is more about the gifts he gives people. And all of us get a certain amount of talent and gifts. So in this case, the guy with 5 maybe has more talents, or maybe more wealth in this example. And the guy with 2 has moderate, and the guy with 1 has 1. And the expectation is that with the talent that he gives us, we're supposed to do something with it. Right? So the last guy who gets the 1 talent, because clearly the master didn't think much of it because he only got 1. He buried it instead of doing something with it. Whereas the other ones did something with their talent. So translation, God gives us all particular talents. Okay? Our job is A, identify them. And most of you guys are in your 30s and 40s kind of know what your talents are. And B, you got to do something with it. And what do we mean by that? Let's look at 1 Peter 4:10. 1 Peter 4:10 talks about this as well. As each has received a gift, employ it for one another as good stewards of God's varied grace. So look, if you're very gifted with money, maybe start a nonprofit that helps the needy. If you're good at communication, start a podcast or a YouTube channel glorifying God. Whatever it is, work on the spiritual and corporal works of mercy. If you have the ability to visit jails, or you have the money to give to poor people who are poor, or give them clothes, then do so, because everything that we have is from the grace of God. All the talents we have, all the financial blessings, so to speak, are from God. And so the expectation, as he says, like he tells the guys with the 10 and the 5, you're going to come to my banquet, in other words, you're going to come to heaven. But the guy who does nothing with the talents, this is who you not want to be. Because you're going to be accountable. We're all going to be accountable. And this is one of the reasons, the parable of the talents, one of the reasons I started this channel. It's not to make money or have 100,000 subscribers. It's because God's gifted me with a certain amount of knowledge of the faith. And more importantly, he's gifted me with pretty good communication skills. And so this is the little way I can give back to God. So when I die and he says, what have you done with the talents that I gave you? I'll be, I can say I've done something with it. I tried. And that's the thing. You don't have to be extremely good or adept at what you do, but it's the earnest attempt. What are you going to do with the talent that God gave you? We always talk about donating at the church, time, talent, treasure. But the point is you have to do something. You don't want to be one of these guys who's just making a lot of money, doing well, and just watches TV all day. And you're like, yeah, you give your gratitude at Thanksgiving, but you don't do anything to give back to God, to help the church, to help others. Look at the spiritual works of mercy, informing the ignorant, right? Admonishing the sinner. These are things that you can do. So figure out what your talent is and give back to God, whether it be small or big. If you are very financially successful, go to the end of 1 Timothy. He gives the best advice. More is expected. So if you're making 400 mil a year or whatever, maybe donate 300 mil of that because you could still live 100 million, right? There's all these admonishments about people who have money. Go to James. James has a great one. Of course, Christ has a bunch in the gospel. Don't be this guy who's accumulating all this worth, the guy who's accumulating all the grain, and then, of course, he dies. And Christ tells it in another place, don't worry about those things that can rust and so forth, that can be eaten away. Work on things that can't be. So whatever talent you have, figure it out. Don't be the guy who only has one talent and buries it. No, you see what happens to this guy. Give back in whatever way you can give back, but the onus and expectation from Christ is that you give back whatever way you can give back. Guys, post in the comments. Let me know if you agree or disagree. Let me know how you give back. Please hit the notification, subscribe, and share button. Share with like-minded people. Until next time, take care, God bless, and pray.